Thank you all for being here so late in the day. I know you all want to go home. But we have a very good panel today, full of industry experts. We have Jaidev Menezes, the RVP of Marriott International. We have Rosa Pirro, Chief Investment Officer at Arada, and we have Steve Russo, Senior Development Director at NMDC, and Zayan Saleh, the Chief Executive Officer of MDC Developers. So what we want to do today is something slightly different, maybe get a bit micro. I understand there's a bit of fatigue sometimes. What we want to do is maybe touch on some topics that we don't often speak about, that are maybe perhaps overlooked. So, you know, without wasting any time, I think we can start with Rosa. I mean, Arada definitely has come up with some pretty big announcements recently, mostly on the Palm. You know, there is that decision for everyone whether to do branded or non-branded. I mean, as a developer, what guides that process and what sort of drives you towards one route or another?
Sure. So the selection of a brand is really a strategic decision for any developer, and you always want to find the right brand for the right location. So we look at the options that are in the market, we look at what the competition is doing, and then we see what brand aligns for both our styles, but that particular location. So in the case of our plot on the Palm, we opted for Armani because there hadn't been an Armani launch in a long time in Dubai, since Burj Khalifa, and it's really aligned with our values and our style. And we actually double branded that project because it's designed by a star architect, Tadao Ando. Yeah. But then you have an example of, for example, W Residences, which we opted for in Dubai Harbor because it's a lifestyle destination and the brand is a lifestyle brand. So always look at what is a good fit for the right location. And then there is the decision of whether to do branded or unbranded. Of course, a brand always brings price premiums. Not always, but if you choose the right brand, it will bring you price premium and also sales velocity. And in the case of some of our projects, we opted to create our own brands even, which is the latest example is Akala, which is a wellness-focused and longevity-focused brand.
So, I mean, you mentioned a lot of hotel brands. I mean, Armani, not a traditional hotel brand, but it has, you know, some precedent here in Dubai, a pretty big one, actually. In terms of fashion brands, when we're talking about non-hotel brands, I mean, do you think that they're able to deliver value in the same way that your traditional hotels brands can?
I think that the fashion brands or non-hospitality brands work with developers that are experienced in catering to services and concierge, because then the developer becomes the hospitality side of the business. So I wouldn't recommend a fashion brand or a non-hospitality brand for developers that don't have a lot of projects delivered and knowledge and know-how in the hospitality and care service after. But I think it can add a lot of value if it's the right fashion brand. In the case of Armani, of course, is an interior design brand, is very famous. So coupled with our knowledge in aftercare, it worked quite well.
So with these three brands in such close proximity, I mean, how is that demand profile looking? Is it similar across all of them, or is it?
It's very different. Not, right? Yeah. So, for example, but I think it has a lot to do with the location. So, for example, Armani, we have a lot of Russian buyers, a lot of Ukrainian buyers, some Japanese because of the star architect. But you know, the Palm is a very Russian market. In the case of W, for example, in Dubai Harbor, we have a lot of Europeans because they like that area. So we have a lot of Germans, right, a lot of Italians, a lot of French.
Well, okay. I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, Steve. I mean, I think you're struggling, or at least sort of wrestling with a problem that's quite similar in that you're trying to develop lots of different branded residences in a very tight, you know, condensed area. I mean, can you give us a sort of an overview of the scheme and perhaps how branded residences fits into your overall vision?
Sure, and it's a pleasure to be here. I think this has been a fantastic conference, and really looking forward to next year. At New Murabba, we have a huge vision ahead of us. It's a 14 square kilometre land area to be delivered over the next 10 to 15 years. Primarily, the Macabre comes forward in the first phase, which is the 400-metre tall iconic cube.
Yep.
For this forum, at the Macabre, we have 4,000 residences in total, and half of that will be sold as branded residences.
Okay.
Out of those 2,000 branded residences, we have a portion which will be hotel branded, and a portion which will be non-hotel branded, which is the category we give to it. But it could be anything from automotive to fashion to jewellery to wellness The list these days just goes on and on. We're at the exciting stage now where we're looking for our hotels. There's actually going to be an RFP that goes into the market today. Ideally, it was going to go out at the start of the event, but it's been a bit late. So the hotel operators look forward to getting the responses back from that. Those submissions that we get from the hotel operators will largely guide the brands that are associated with the hotel branded residences. However, a big part of the evaluation is identifying those brands and considering how they will work for the branded residences as well as the hotel guests. Yeah. So obviously guest distribution for the hotels is really important for those assets, but how those brands will sell and how they resonate with our market. And our target market in the first instance is going to be Saudi Arabia. Yep. And locals, without any doubt. And so we need to make sure that the brands that are coming in to run the hotels and the branded residences definitely align with those buyers. And then onto the non-hotel branded residences, we're at the very start of the journey. Rose has already been through the stage of picking her brands. We're at that stage where we don't know yet. We actually the sky's the limit. And in this quarter, we're actually going to be going out to all of those brands, the ones that I've mentioned, all of the cars, the jewelry, fashion, everybody, and inviting proposals. So we'd probably go through an agent, but in the near future, a request for information will be going out. And we're really excited about seeing who comes forward and who's interested in potentially pitching a brand that could align itself with the Mukaab and with Saudi Arabian culture.
So I get it. I mean, I think I know the answer probably, but I mean, you're going to wrestle with that issue of like, do you want, concentration where you can benefit from controlling pricing, from economies of scales, from even your fee structure, or do you want as many different operators as possible to just cast that net as wide as possible? Like, what's preferred?
Yeah, absolutely. The hotels give us an efficiency of scale. We've obviously had lots of conversations with JDev's team. And it could be that Marriott brand every single hotel at the Mukaab. There's 6 hotels there to be branded. That would definitely simplify the operation. If they then
we totally agree with that.
If they then branded the standalone assets as well, it's simpler again. But then we'd have to see what brands are on the table and how they align with our buyers. Is there enough diversity in there to keep the interest in those 2,000 branded residences that we need to sell?
Well, I guess, Jaidev, first of all, congratulations on the deal that you've just made. We're all looking forward to it. To that end, could you give us a sense of the branded residential sort of platform at Marriott? What benefits come along with that?
Yeah, sure. Just to give you a sense of the scale of the business, we have incredibly strong brands within our luxury and premium segments with St. Regis, Edition, W, and Ritz-Carlton, and increasing demand and growth in our premium brands, so Marriott, Westin, Autograph, etc. at that level. We've got the largest portfolio.
Notice he didn't say the one that starts with a B.
What's that? Large portfolio, about 300 residential projects globally, roughly half open, half in the pipeline. If we look at Europe, Middle East, and Africa, we've got about 80 projects, again, roughly half open and half in the pipeline. Most of them are luxury. Jeff was discussing this morning, just the industry mix is somewhere around 75% luxury, 25% premium. We see that continuing, but we see a huge growth in premium brands as well across Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Fine, so just rolling that back a bit. When you're sort of sitting there, or whatever you do at work every day, so how many actual sort of deals would come to a company like yours, or yours specifically, on an average month? How many of them are sort of dead on arrival? How many of those have legs? How do you filter them? How does that whole process work?
So we see probably 30 to 40 deals every month across EMEA.
Branded resi deals?
Branded resi deals across EMEA. Some of them will be co-located. Some of them will be standalone. I'd say in terms of filtration, within 24 to 48 hours, we've sorted out majority of them. Because for us and for other operators, the key is obviously developer credibility. So in terms of the way we think through, it's location, 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 but more importantly, developer, developer, developer. So developer credibility, financial strength of the developer, location, and then brand fit within our portfolio. So that's the kind of initial screening process.
So let's take that number. So of those 30, within 24 hours, let's say you have an idea, how many of those would have been killed almost immediately?
I'd say majority of them.
Okay.
Almost majority of them.
And why?
would be
The
killed.
developer you mentioned, but any other reasons?
I mean, I think just brand fit. I think developer strength is very important for us.
Fine.
Financial capability to deliver the projects are very important for us. But yeah, a lot of those are filtered out quite quickly.
Fine, and then let's say that you like a deal. Let's say we work on one, we go through the whole process, and then at the end, even when everything is agreed, it seems that there's something else that needs to be done before you can finally come back and sort of get those definitive agreements. So I guess my question is, what happens behind the scenes when you're happy with the deal and your legal is happy with the deal,
Yep.
before you can come back to us?
Yeah, so just in terms of the development process on our end, I mean, the LOI is the first stage. We then invest a significant amount of time, we invest a decent amount of time on the front end in terms of making sure the legal structure is put together properly. That is absolutely critical. We've done a ton of deals where we fast track to agreement stage and then find out that the agreements don't work in the location we're in.
By the way, Marriott has 4 agreements of 80 pages each, so they're pretty intense too.
Thank you, Rosa. So it is intense, but I think we have built enough of a platform and volume to be able to deliver projects quite quickly. So in terms of process, it's LOI first, deals. The legal structure is in place second. Then we get to the residential agreements, and oftentimes it's not lateral, right? So with Arada, for example, it's a major project, prime location, standalone W, about 4 billion, almost 5 billion dirhams in total sales, $1.5 billion in total sales. And so we moved everything in kind of parallel tracks. We had legal, we had design moving in parallel, because we signed an ITSA. We had our marketing team fully engaged with the Arada team. So it can move quite quickly. And just to give you a sense of the volume, I mean, this year we'll probably sign about 20 to 25 residential deals in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Most of them will be co-located. Some will be standalone, about 75% co-located and 25 standalone. The total sales volume that we will launch this year is about $8 billion.
Yeah.
We're doing 22 launches in 2025 at $8 billion total sale value. So we have to be able to move quite quickly. These markets, especially the UAE, Saudi, Egypt, oftentimes there's a very tight window to sales launch. So we've got to be able to move from LOI stage to definitive agreements to launch very, very fast.
So I didn't want to interrupt you, but just two things. One, maybe you could tell us what an ITSA is, and the other thing was, I thought you were moving away from doing interim agreements, or is that something you're moving away from, or is that something that you're happy to do?
No, we'll do an ITSA, an interim technical services agreement, if it makes sense. But if the project is moving really fast to sales launch, we'll oftentimes move it all in parallel.
Fine. Understood. So for you, Zayan, at MDC, I mean, this is something that you've all probably just lived through quite recently. You've gone through all of this process. I mean, can you tell us first about the company and then what you're getting up to in the Maldives?
Yeah, so MDC is the development arm of Camcorp, and we are relatively new in this space, but I think we're coming out with a very exciting project for the first one, which is the Baccarat project in the Maldives, which we've started on now reclamation and hoping to go into full construction very soon as well. And we are also bringing residences to the Maldives in a large way. I mean, Soneva's been quietly doing it for a number of years, but it wasn't like a branded residence program. This, we believe, will be the first true branded residence program in the Maldives. So, and we're putting a lot of exciting things into this project, and it will be something that's truly, wow and unique, and make a bang.
I mean, it certainly looks that way. I mean, just looking at the land itself, I mean, it's already quite unique. And I think you went a particular way with your operator, and we see that in this region all of the time. They want something unique that no one's seen before, that's new to the region, and then they also want and not one of the big brands because they feel like it's too mass market, but then they want something with a global footprint. So we end up going around looking for something that doesn't exist anywhere and has a global footprint, which will never happen. It doesn't exist. They're mutually exclusive, right? So you went the other way. You went for something quite niche. So what tipped the scales in the favor of something like that rather than, well, I guess I'm asking, why did Jaidev disappoint you?
He didn't give me what I wanted. No, kidding. I think we love Baccarat as a brand. We think it's an untold story in terms of their ability in hospitality and also the reach in branded residences. They've been immensely successful in Dubai as well, and I think they haven't made a mark in the hospitality industry as such because they've only had one hotel for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But I've seen what their pipeline is. I think they will really fit well in that ultra-luxury space and offer something unique that will cater to that niche, really. And we see that value, and we wanted to help grow that. And Maldives also has a tendency to be able to make a brand. So we had both opportunities together, which is why we went with it. And
On that point, I've heard in the past, I don't agree with it, but I've definitely heard that people say that a destination is the brand, and a hotel brand doesn't add, when a destination is famous enough, a brand doesn't add value. I guess I personally don't agree. I think perhaps you wouldn't agree.
well, yes and no, especially when it comes to Maldives. Maldives is unique on its own. It's able to, drive up ADRs not like any other destination, I would say. If you look at a lot of the brands and see which of their properties is in that highest bracket of the ADRs, a lot of them are in the Maldives.
Yeah.
And having said that, it takes considerable effort to make a standalone property to fit into that level, especially when you have guys like these and the other great luxury hotels that have been operating in that space. So if you want to compete at that space, we believe the right brand is required. So that's what we
I mean,
thought.
that's fair enough. And on sort of brands and value, Rosa, I think looking at the economics of this, an argument sometimes is made that all these brands are coming in, they're creating all of this value, and then they're eating it up all in fees. So there's nothing left for the developer to really hold on to except for more admin. And to me, maybe that suggested that the plot was never right. But what is your view on the added value versus the extra admin and the extra sort of hurdles you have to go through?
I think the right brand will bring a great added value in the right location. So just keep in mind, in general, in Dubai, let's just look at Dubai, 5% of the total sales, of the total units sold, are branded. But in terms of sales value, that's almost 14%. And also in terms of sales velocity, on average, they sell about twice as fast as an unbranded products. So you have two benefits usually, which is one, of course, the sales premium, which is evident. The average prices for unbranded is 1,500 per square foot in Dubai, and it's 3,700 for branded. And the second one is sales velocity. In general, for all of our branded products, we have noticed that our sales velocity was much faster, even though the ticket sizes was bigger, and also the sales premium that we achieved is between 20 to 30% higher than the submarket. This only works though if you select the right brand. For example, a 5-star brand will only work in a 5-star location.
Yeah.
And you also have to consider the competition around you. So, for example, we had a beautiful plot in the IFC, and I reached out to the various potential partners, and they didn't want to give me the right brand. So we decided, well, because you have to look at also what else is in the submarket. And we decided to create something unique in the submarket, which is a longevity-focused hotel and branded residences, which is our own brand called Akala. And that worked very well. We sold 60% of the project, and we reached rates that are higher than other branded projects in the same submarket, even though it's not an established brand. But because the unique value proposition of the project created that added value. So it really depends on the brand you select for that particular plot and submarket.
Yeah, look, I think, Rosa brought up an important point. People tend to focus a lot on price premium, but I think sales velocity is equally important. So 2x branded versus unbranded in Dubai is a great comp. We had a project a couple of years ago, the W Residences in Manchester. So £400 per square foot market, but great owner, Gary Neville, Manchester United. We had a 180-key hotel, 200 odd residences in a single tower. We thought pricing would be around 500, 600 pounds a square foot when we did the deal. Fast forward to sales launch, they sold out in 9 months at 900 pounds a foot. So 50% above the market and really, really fast sellout. And a lot of that came because great developer, great location, great product, but also branding with W or attracted a lot of almost 30 to 40% international buyers who didn't necessarily know the developer, but they knew the brand. So there's a strong affinity as well for the brand, which helps in sales space.
And this is incredibly important in a highly competitive market like Dubai, Miami, all of the cities where actually branded residences are popular. Now Riyadh even so.
Yeah.
I think one of the aspects that the hotel brands specifically bring as well is trust. And it's one of the reasons why you get that increased sales absorption, because having a long-standing brand there means that buyers are buying with more trust in that brand, and that after they've done the deal and they've got the keys, they're not going to be left running their own building and left with their own issues. They know they have a really strong, reputable brand stood behind their purchase, and that it makes that decision much easier.
I mean, so on that topic, where does the ownership sit? I mean, especially for standalone. I mean, if you have a hotel, you sign a deal with a developer, you sell the units individually, those units are sold. So presumably the developer is less involved, or maybe even not involved. So how does your relationship how is your relationship structured with the unit owners?
Yeah, good question. So on standalone deals, at a high level, we've got two different models, and the other operators align as well. So if we look at Western Europe and a standalone residential deal, the developer sells the residences and exits, and oftentimes there is a condo association or HOA, homeowner association, that stays involved, and our underlying long-term management agreement moves to that homeowner association. So the developer's sold out and onto his next project. In Eastern Europe and the Middle East and Africa, in most countries, we don't have HOA regulations or homeowner association regulations that we're comfortable with. So we have the developer stay in the picture by structuring it in a way where they continue to own a piece in the building or a title in the building that allows us to run back-to-back agreements for long term.
Does that mean a percentage of the units, or can they sell all the units?
So they may own a commercial component in the building, for example. It could be retail space on the ground floor that we manage, but that's the entity that owns the employees, where we has the trade licenses of all the employees, etc. So the developer retains that in the long term.
Fine, and you know, people say that these structures with hotel operators are marriages. Not all marriages last forever. In fact, none of them last forever. What happens? I mean, well, so what happens if these people buy into the scheme? No one reads any contracts either these days, and the HOA or someone falls afoul of your critical brand standards, and you need to pull away. So I guess two questions. One is, what sort of things would happen for you to do that? Two is, how can an end user protect themselves against that happening?
Yeah, so I mean, and Rosa, you can jump in. I mean, it's really about disclosure, right? So when buyers are buying a branded residence, whether it's co-located or standalone, the disclosure has to be made up front in the reservation agreement, the SPA, the governance documents, that the brand is in place for a period of time, and there's a licensing arrangement in place. That's the underlying assumption, right? And if that, and from a brand point of view, what's critical is that the brand standards in the common areas are met, right? And we're not in the business of terminating residential projects. This is our 25th year in the business. We have exited one project, which we've chosen not to renew in that whole period. We oftentimes work with the homeowner association, but at some point in time, you know, and as all our residential projects mature, there's a bunch of signings, but as these projects mature and we fast forward 10, 15 years, we will end up with terminations, like we do in hotels, right? Because from a brand point of view, if we don't have the funds to operate the common areas in a building, whether unit owners aren't paying, or there's a problem with collections, or or the funds aren't enough, or they don't approve the budget, then the brands can only stay for that period of time in the building, and they have the ability to exit.
And so how about for you? I mean, in the Maldives, do you have to set up a sort of a complicated structure, or do you have sort of HOAs and rental pool arrangements or anything like this in your development?
Yeah, we do have as well. I mean, it's very similar to everywhere else, I would say. I think what we didn't have was the legal framework for for ownership for residence owners really, but that also came in to place in the last 5 years really, and the government is doing what they can to promote, and they listen to the private sector when they doing their policies, especially on what sort of residency status can you get, and also I think that the tourism industry is very well regulated. I think managers who've been there for a long time, they understand that Maldives is a friendly place, especially for hotel operators, and the framework's been there. But I think what's going to be challenging is what's the next step after branded residences come? How are they going to be governed? HOAs will be new to Maldives in that perspective, but again, I think they will evolve, especially as we see that the bulk of the ownership in residences will be in ultra high net worth individuals. So they do know how to manage that on their own very well as well. But it's always an interesting take on when we face potential customers as well. They do ask this question. What if I buy this brand and this brand is no longer there in 5, 10, 20 years? But we have to make it clear it's an HMA or licensing agreement only lasts for a certain amount of time. It's up to whoever's in control at that point in time to decide what happens next. But if things run smoothly, if funds are available, if it's managed well, it's a long-term partnership. Hopefully longer than a marriage.
Okay, I mean, it's fair enough. I hope that's not how much time I have left, but I suspect it probably is. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so Jadav was pretty certain that you guys would have better questions than I do. So do any of you have anything that you want to ask our panel, or is there anything that anybody wants to sort of table?
Ali, thank you, and thank you all for bringing some knowledge to branded residential. As a Singaporean, I come from a country that's landlocked, where every square inch matters, and value creation of real estate and branded residences are very well thought of in light of the quality of assets that we have in Singapore and the wealth that comes into Singapore, especially the sector. So when we've evaluated branded residential, which we have, and I've done it for my clients. For example, I can quote an example of the St. Regis on Orchard Road, where I was handling my client is the second largest developer in Singapore, who's forever sold real estate and very well done. So at the end of the day, we clearly saw in our risk matrix that Marriott, through St. Regis, was giving us quality uplift versus what we, as a brand of real estate, were not getting that. Now, the question was managing the risk, property X or brand X versus aspirational brands. And that became a filter of dropping out certain other brands who are very aggressive in terms of the commercial and want to be on that location premium. But what we then did was we chose a brand where we very carefully architected where it's going to be located and what the reach and the final buyers were doing. So we took a certain segment, which was premium, gave it to Christie's 1 year out, who say that's the inventory you're going to sell, and that's brand St. Regis. And trust me, we got a premium, which was way above market. And I'll reverse that. So coming back to location, quality of developers is a driver. That's where the filtration process needs to happen. And in markets which are not as mature, from a governance factor, where you have a lot of speculators, you've got to be even more careful about understanding quick money and quick sells versus long-term cannibalization and default rates in markets which are not secure. I'll give you another example. I was involved with the Plaza New York, not on the sell, on the buy. When we did that, and my partner was Kingdom Holdings, Prince Al-Walid Al Talal. So it took me more than a week to convince him that this is going to be the highest ever deal in the history of a hotel sale. And at that stage, I had to convince him not to exit the deal, to stay into the deal, with an option saying, if you want to exit, we buy you. We, as the principal of Singapore. Again, my agenda was to try and sell Resi, not because quality of the asset, but quality of the location on Central Park. The unions didn't let me do 100% sale of Resi, but we did sell a substantial amount of inventory, and that came back purely because of the brand uplift, decision making, and filtering the quality and time to market of where it is. So this is what I'm coming back to in the Middle East, where things are still evolving, and there's a lot of speculation and quick money coming in. The importance of risk management and analyzing the developer becomes a very key factor in making decisions long term. Thank you. So I do support Jaydev, who very carefully put that filter, or any other brand, as a matter of fact, who's doing it in the rush for everybody trying to get there quickly. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so hey, thank you. We're out of time, or over time now. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll put you back in the capable hands of Barry. Thank you.